A Feast for Our Eyes was delivered by Studio Gaga this time, and considering the following chapter will be dropping shortly after, the wait certainly did not disappoint, and had goosebumps forming on me as the goat himself grits his teeth with anticipation. We left off last chapter with Puck's weird ignorance to Rickard and Salat's announcement of moving to attack the Falcon, the best form of defense being offense after all, in which Rickard looks scared and many heavy hitters such as Guts and Shirke out for the count mentally and physically, so it didn't paint much hope for the crew. Berserk returned though, after many months with a funny titled The Viper in his bosom, and this was obviously circulating the internet as soon as it dropped in Japan, but purely with Arabic scans and terrible English ones, so I opted to avoid them until finding a worthy translation. This chapter expands the culture of the mysterious Kushans who even until now remain shrouded in a lot of unknown aspects, and it's some wonderfully executed world building that us as the reader also feel alienated to alongside the main cast of stragglers picked up by Salat. One thing I'd like to mention is the incredible art. I mean, compared to when Gaga first picked it up and now, the consistency has shot through the roof, with every character looking stunning, distinct, and even if it isn't the classic Miura style, their own inspired style is finally taking a very pleasant form of its own, and I personally love it. The manga cover looks like something ripped out of an Assassin's Creed concept, mainly due to how awesome my glorious King Salat looks in the center, and we open with Isidro absolutely pissing the bed by nearly getting trampled by some elephants who look absolutely blazed. Yo bro, do I look high right now? Isidro has experienced some early form dementia unfortunately, as he has seen elephants before all the way back in chapter 176. Yeah, I checked. Rickard, who I continue to see only Armin from Attack on Titan in, confirms they are not blood-sucking, flesh-consuming demonic forces and rather docile creatures the Kushan use as horse upgrades to look more fancy. The buildings are somewhat basic in drawing, reminding me of Miura's own work in the Black Swordsman arc when he just started out. However, I'm not here to hate, or I am a pillar of Berserk glazing. The characters all look stunning, as the Rickster explains that logical conclusions from their own world are pointless here, as the Kushans operate massively different. Not gonna lie though, after you've been through as much as these guys, seen as much mystical crap, fought as many demons, a dusty replica of Southeast Asia should be the least of their intrigue. This thing, I can't remember its name, blabbers on to Witch 43, Witch 52, Witch 89, Witch 13, Rickard and Morda about roots and stuff. Morda agrees it's a terribly boring spiel and pieces out on her broom. Varnice, wearing an insanely goofy fantasy fit, also leaves to check on this loser Shirke who ain't doing anything to help. Ugh, some people man. We flash back to when Salat announced the plan of attack was to attack, and Rickard rightfully trembles at the thought of a clash with the literal god of the world. For us readers, a conventional Kushan versus Falconia matchup obviously ends up with Falconia winning. Easily, no doubt. Numbers are irrelevant when facing Femto and his demons, and it is nice that someone doubts the Kushan army, as it has bothered me for some time as well. I'm not sure why Salat is so dead set on their might, considering he has experienced firsthand how omnipotent Griffith is, so Rickard's input will be vital later on to knock some sense into him. Only with hacks from the strongest players of the Kushan side, special circumstances, and immense luck would result in the slimmest of chances to beat Griffith currently, but otherwise yes, they will be swept up in a massive wave of death. Rickard momentarily thinks of Guts, which is interesting, as Rickard has clearly seen his state. However, Guts remains the pillar of unbreakable strength to Rickard, someone he can rely on, as he has since the very first days of the Band of the Hawk. We are introduced to the new Emperor of the Kushans after Ganishka got one-tapped. Obviously his power crumbled, yet the replacement is far less intimidating, looking like some Jabba the Hutt melting ice cream looking at a bum. Anyways, this chapter is a political debate for the main part, and we get insight into how the mighty empire withholds its power and succinct purpose through the use of a Kurultai. This is practically a military summit in which many different leaders of areas meet up to discuss how they should proceed. Unlike Falconia's political layout, which consists of a more conventional small council with ministers and members all from the main city and headed mainly by Griffith's elite purpose, the Kurultai comprises the vastness of all the empire, therefore much larger and a much more significant event. Roderick is intimidated by the experienced men amongst the Kurultai, and if anything, that at least gives us hope that the rising army against Griffith will be compactly wound and led by veterans. Their designs are very cool, I must say, and this is how going into an older class to get the glue sticks felt like as a kid. The new Kushan Emperor is actually quite chill, not absorbed by arrogance and willing to listen to others' inputs to decide. Daiba, once again showing his profound foresight, warns Silat of the coming conflict during this Kurultai, and the orderly congress is dashed with darker undertones from this point forward. Silat, being the edgelord he is, hopes it won't end peacefully for reasons, I guess. The chief of the northern tribe spits upon the chief of the Bakiraka's presence, claiming he is unfit to sit in the discussion. Kind of stupid considering Silat is one of the most experienced members of the entire Kushan Empire in the Falcon's ways, having been inside Falconia under Ganishka's reign and has seen things others have never even dreamt of, which the Emperor literally says to the group before it begins. His pointless comment is shot down by this Chad who opts for progression of plans rather than arguments amongst themselves. The Emperor agrees with the general as they should be seeking unity and calls forth Daiba's wisdom once more. One thing to remember is Daiba's presence is a massive weapon for the Kushan Empire, as usual means of fighting are pointless against Griffith. Magic and experience in darker arts will absolutely be needed, and when you combine tremendous power with elite wisdom and experience, you get a character who is reliable and of immediate danger to the enemy. As Daiba explains how Ganishka fell and Falconia came to be, Silat notices his distinct omittal of darker demonic aspects used by Ganishka, and to be truthful, I am not sure why. Maybe so the council does not cast him out for being paired with a demon. After all, the Kushan Empire is riding out with the sentiment of it being humans versus demons, when in reality this line is significantly blurred. Humans fight on the side of demons, and demons have led the side of the humans. It is not a case of heroes versus villains, and this implicit aspect will be fascinating to see. The humans who fight for Falconia truly believe in the good of their cause, and think Griffith to be noble, just, and a messiah sent to unite all. Silat launches forth to make his proclamation, and even though it's literally the smallest detail ever detailed, I love the little motion lines shooting from Silat's whitened eye, something often done in art to make the character look more cold or active. For example, in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when the turtles are fighting or moving inconspicuously. Silat asks that he become the unchallenged commander of all Kushan forces, a behemoth of a title indeed. He plays on the aspect of Griffith being the true demon, once again hiding the fact that Ganishka was literally the strongest normal apostle in history, but once again the chief of the northern clan clashes with his request. His suspicion, to be fair, has some grounds. Silat arrived with a weird party of outsiders, however they have given no reason to actually rouse contempt, yet strangely the northern chief begins struggling, sweating profusely, and horrifying black spikes begin protruding from his back. I found it so funny the way Roderick calmly says, "He does not seem well," like black spikes out of your back was a classic symptom of the flu, and they continue pushing outwards kind of grossly until an explosion of blood. And is it light? I'm not sure. The impression is somewhat hard to grasp, but what we do know is that it's bad. The chief's body is contorting with visceral pain, his face painted with confusion and suffering, and it is clear something foul this way comes. A quick flick to Farnese, Morda, Shirkei and Serpico lets us see Farnese's progression in astral and magical prowess, instantly feeling the disturbance with eyes sparkled and vague in focus, bolting out of the room to either join the source or free Guts from his cell. Speaking of Guts, still locked away, his brand pricks with blood, activated with the demonic arrival, and we see the goat himself gritting his teeth as he has done so many times before, with a mixed look of pain, confusion and hatred plastered across his face. It reminded me of the face he made all the way back in Lost Children, just far less crazy and bloodlusted, as he is clearly still in pain, having recently fallen further than ever. We see the cause of the conflict within the same panel, the broken and bloodied mask of a familiar foe, Raxus. He explodes from the back of the chief, leaving him a disheveled husk of a corpse, like something from Alien, just from the back this time, and I don't think this power of his has ever been showcased before, which also begs the question of how much he is overheard, influenced and reported back to Griffith. It just increases the terror of demonkind and Griffith's abilities, reversing all of that order and unity of the Kushan Council. Interestingly, he is drawn with two masks, and I don't know the significance of that, but can just appreciate the beautiful art like a caveman seeing fire for the first time. This chapter ends with the daunting caption, "The Banished One bursts onto the stage and the tragedy begins." Tragedy implies a lot of death, and I feel as if Raskus is only the first in the incoming enemies, as Griffith has been aiming for the Kushan Empire for many chapters at this point. I still hold the commitment to the belief that Griffith will swat the Kushan Empire like a fly, as they are hopeless in standing up to his power that infects the world with every step he takes. The key has not yet been found for his defeat. This chapter was more of a setup, but thankfully the next one is set to release soon, November 8th I believe, so us Berserk fans are eating good. It is nice to see Guts back to a conscious state, even if his pupils are drawn to be slightly discombobulated, and I expect the next chapter to instantly break out into fighting, mainly between Silat, Daiba and Roxas, with Guts being freed later on maybe. The art of this chapter was great, and it is really warming to know that Studio Gaga is still putting a lot of effort into continuing the flame of Miura, and to those who claim it ended after his death are just missing out due to their stupidity at this point. I don't think the pacing was that bad, maybe a little fast, but I'm not complaining, and it focused on many characters. I did want to see more of Guts, who has been out of the counter for a lot recently, but oh well, it is expected seeing his state, and unrealistic if he just bounced back into the dialogue that quickly. But yeah, not the craziest chapter, but certainly a crazy ending that promises devilish things to come next time, which I will also be covering, so make sure to tune in for that one. But until then, like and subscribe, stay safe, and peace out.